Applications begin for mainland travel permits for non-Chinese permanent residents of Hong Kong and Macau. Another CLP power supply incident in the city. And the NATO summit gets underway in Washington, D.C., with Biden pledging to defend Ukraine against Russia's invasion. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Starting today, non-Chinese permanent residents of Hong Kong and Macau can apply for mainland travel permits. But some people were unable to submit their applications because of missing documents. Mimo Sangai reports.
Non-Chinese permanent Hong Kong and Macau residents who wish to visit mainland can now apply for mainland travel permits. The permits have a validity of 5 years and are only for short-term purposes, including tourism, business, and family visits. During the 5-year period, the permit holders can visit the mainland multiple times, but each time cannot exceed 90 days. In Hong Kong, about 270,000 people are eligible to apply. First-time applicants need to submit their documents to China Travel Service, or CTS, in the city. Some applicants arrived at the CTS Entry Permit Service Centre in Mong Kok early this morning.
We always want to go there, but previously had to get a visa. It was expensive. Now this process with the new card, it's fantastic. We can jump across anytime we want on the weekends or go for longer trips, because with the 90 days you can go pretty much anywhere you want.
Individuals must apply to the Immigration Department for the note of application for access to information before making an online appointment with the CTS entry service centres, but not every applicant was aware of this requirement.
All we thought is ready already, but once we arrive here, there is one missing application form that we don't know, not included in this in the website. Frustrated.
First-time applicants for the permit need to pay $260 and will receive the document in 20 working days after approval.
Robert Ng, chairman of property developer Sino Group, who is from Singapore, also applied for the permit with his children at an entry permit service centre on Hong Kong Island. The permit application policy also includes non-Chinese permanent residents in Macau.
I think this is a great opportunity to travel to China without restrictions. Even though I don't speak the language, I do think this is really a good move.
Macau authorities said about 19,500 non-Chinese permanent residents are eligible to apply in the SAR. News 9, TVB News.
Another incident occurred in CLP's power supply system, causing a sudden voltage drop in Sham Shui Po last night. CLP apologized for the accident. Today, some lawmakers asked CLP to speed up inspections and improve facilities. CLP reported a sudden voltage drop in a power supply system in Sham Shui Po at 11 p.m. on Tuesday. Some lights dimmed or flickered, and some electric devices went off because of the voltage drop. Areas around Nam Chung Street, including Shek Kip Mei Estate, Pak Tin Estate, and nearby private properties were affected. Some lawmakers pointed out that CLP had experienced at least 8 power incidents this year. The government has requested CLP to pay for an independent consultant hired by the Electrical and Mechanical Services Department to present a report within 12 months. In Taiwan, at least 15 Hong Kong-bound flights departing from Taoyuan International Airport today have been delayed. It's expected the disruptions will continue throughout the day. Airport authorities explained that the delays were due to air traffic control, with flights to destinations including Hong Kong, Macau, and Thailand being affected. Passengers are reminded to check their flight status before setting off for the airport. According to the website of Taoyuan International Airport this afternoon, most flights to Hong Kong have been delayed by around half an hour, with some up to 2 hours. At the NATO summit in Washington, U.S. President Joe Biden pledged to forcefully defend Ukraine against Russia's invasion. This as NATO members shored up weapon production capabilities to hedge against the November U.S. presidential vote. NATO will also announce in the coming days a new military command in Germany to train and equip Ukrainian troops. And speaking from Hawaii, South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol said North Korea's arms trade with Russia is a threat to global peace. Tracy Furness reports.
At At the 75th anniversary of NATO's military alliance on Tuesday, US President Joe Biden insisted Ukraine will not back down in the face of Russia's aggression.
Putin's war of aggression against Ukraine continues, and Putin wants nothing less than Ukraine's total subjugation, to end Ukraine's democracy, to destroy Ukraine's culture, and to wipe Ukraine off the map. And we know Putin won't stop at Ukraine, but make no mistake, Ukraine can and will stop Putin.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said a Kyiv delegation attending the NATO summit in Washington was pushing for further military support for Ukraine, with air defense systems and fighter jets being top priority.
How much longer can Putin last? The answer to this question is right here in Washington. Your leadership, your actions, your choice, the choice to act now.
White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said NATO countries will each pledge to make plans to strengthen their own industrial defense capacity. This would help the alliance prioritize production of the most vital defense equipment we would need in the event of a conflict, he said. NATO has signed a nearly $700 million contract to have member countries produce more anti-aircraft Stinger missiles. Outgoing NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg announced the contract on Tuesday.
So we strongly believe that by utilizing the strength of this alliance to bring allies together, there are many other examples. We can utilize the economy of scale, we can give increase the demand for long-term contracts, and by working together, we're also ensuring interoperability, which is so critical for this alliance.
And the leaders of Sweden and Finland arrived in Washington for the NATO summit for the first time on Tuesday. Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson and President Alexander Stubb of Finland arrived together. Both countries are new NATO members, bringing the number of countries to the alliance to 32. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Rescuers searched the rubble of Ukraine's biggest children's hospital for more dead and wounded on Tuesday, a day after a Russian missile leveled a two-story wing of the Kyiv facility during a massive daytime barrage that killed at least 42 people throughout the country.
Yesterday's attack makes abundantly clear Putin is not interested in peace. He's committed to wreaking death and destruction in pursuit of his war of aggression. Let's be clear, this brutal attack is hardly a standalone incident. In March 2022, Russian airstrikes damaged a maternity and children's hospital in Mariupol. In December 2023, a Russian missile plunged into a medical facility in Dnipro.
The director of the Children's Hospital in Kyiv, hit by a Russian missile Monday, detailed the loss of professionals and equipment to the facility. The hospital was caring for some 675 patients at the time of the attack. Also in the U.S., Democrats on Capitol Hill are hashing out whether President Joe Biden is the right person to carry the party to victory in November, following his debate performance that sent Democrats into panic. NBC has more.
10 House Democrats have called for the president to step aside, but one is now backtracking.
Whether they're concerned or not, is beside the point. He's going to be our nominee, and we all have to support him.
Still, while some rank-and-file Democrats are torn, their leadership is holding firm.
We are riding with Biden.
I'm with Joe. Right now, President Biden is the nominee, and we support the Democratic nominee.
Republicans hope the infighting helps them in November.
Joe Biden is not fit for that office, and it's a terrible thing. The Democrats have misled us, and they need to be held accountable for that.
The political chaos comes after President Biden's personal doctor confirmed overnight in this letter that a neurologist who specializes in Parkinson's did see the president, but only during his annual physicals. The specialist, Dr. Kevin Kennard, visited the White House 8 times in 8 months, according to public visitor logs. The president's doctor saying Kennard held, quote, regular neurology clinics at the White House Medical Clinic to support military staff.
It was being incorrectly assumed and insinuated that the president was being treated for Parkinson's. I said right here that the president was not being treated for Parkinson's.
On the Republican side, former President Trump giving his first post-debate interview, saying he believes President Biden will stay in the race.
He's got an ego and he doesn't want to quit.
Also adding that he may wait to announce his running mate until Democrats sort out President Biden's future.
We wanted to see what they're doing, to be honest.
And still ahead, Day 2 activities of the Indian Prime Minister's visit to Russia. In Japan, a Chinese national arrested for alleged vandalism at the Yasukuni Shrine at the end of May. And Hong Kong police said to be planning to stop using their .38 revolvers and switch to using Chinese-made handguns. Welcome back. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi held formal talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin in the Russian capital on Tuesday. They discussed issues of common concern, including Ukraine and Gaza, and outlined 9 strategic areas of cooperation in a joint statement. Danny Zhou has the story.
Putin and Modi vowed to strengthen and expand the two countries' particularly privileged strategic partnership during the 22nd India-Russia Annual Summit in Moscow. Winding up Modi's 2-day trip to Russia, the leaders outlined 9 key areas ranging from nuclear energy to medicine. They reaffirmed the significance of security dialogue and sought closer cooperation in space exploration and in developing the Northern Sea route through Arctic waters. Their meeting took place at a time when Western leaders gathered in Washington to mark NATO's 75th anniversary and reassure Ukraine of their support. Modi implicitly rebuked the recent deadly attack on a major children's hospital in Kyiv, which Ukraine said was part of a series of Russian missile strikes. The Indian leader told Putin that his heart bleeds over the death of innocent children and said, "A solution is not possible on the battlefield. We have to adopt the path of peace only through talks." Russia and India both stressed the need for a peaceful resolution through diplomacy. Regarding the Gaza conflict, the two leaders called for the implementation of the UN resolution on a ceasefire and immediate release of the hostages, while advocating for the effective delivery of humanitarian assistance. On the economic front, India and Russia will continue their dialogue in trade liberalization, including a possible free trade agreement between the Eurasian Economic Union and India. They will also accelerate the growth of bilateral trade and set up a trade target of $100 billion by 2030. Putin conferred Russia's highest civilian honor, the Order of St. Andrew the Apostle, on Modi for his contribution to the Russia-India relationship. The leaders also visited the Vedanta Exhibition Center to see Russia's advancements in nuclear technology. Russia remains an important partner for India's energy security and defense. New Delhi could seek deals with Rosneft and other leading Russian oil firms, and Moscow is looking at potentially building 6 more nuclear power plants in India. While the military agreement would facilitate their exchange of fuel and spare parts, the two leaders discussed the lingering problems linked to Western sanctions, such as delays in delivery of Russian defense equipment.
Both sides had a general sense of agreement that this would be expedited, including through setting up joint venture partnerships in India to look at some of these spare parts, particularly the more critical spare parts.
Danny Zhou, TVB News.
A Chinese national living in Japan was arrested by the police on Tuesday for alleged vandalism at the Yasukuni Shrine in Tokyo. The 29-year-old man was suspected of purchasing red paint and spray painting the word toilet on the stone pillar at the shrine on May 31st. He earlier told Japanese media that he saw this as a protest against Japan's release of treated nuclear wastewater into the sea. Tokyo police also issued arrest warrants for 2 other Chinese men who participated in the incident, but the duo have already returned to Shanghai. The Yasukuni Shrine honors millions of Japanese war dead since the late 19th century, including convicted war criminals in World War II. A Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson pointed out the shrine is the spiritual symbol of militarism, but also advised Chinese citizens abroad to abide by local laws and regulations and express their demands rationally. The Immigration Department has arrested 11 people over the past 3 days in its crackdown on illegal food delivery workers. Helen Chan reports.
Since the epidemic, many residents have been ordering food through delivery platforms. Some illegal workers have taken the opportunity to benefit from this. In their 3-day crackdown on illegal delivery workers, the Immigration Department arrested 8 men, 3 Indians and 5 Bangladeshis, all of whom are non-formal protection claimants. 3 Hong Kong residents, 1 male and 2 female, were also arrested in Mong Kok and Yu Ma Tai for renting out their Korea accounts to illegal workers. The arrests were made on account of instigating others to engage in illegal labor and conspiring to scam delivery platforms. Mo Chung-kit, deputy commander of the Immigration Department Task Force, said the illegal workers rent Korea accounts for around $3,000 a month. For each delivery order, they would earn $20 to $35 from delivery platforms. Some of these illegal workers have used Korea accounts for 8 to 9 months. The Immigration Department has arrested 13 illegal delivery workers so far this year. The department criticized delivery platforms for laxity in registration regulations. Mo said the department has contacted 3 major local delivery platforms and asked them to enhance verification of Korea identities. Enhancements include optimizing the face recognition system, introducing or strengthening dual or multi-authentication, and freezing suspicious accounts. The Immigration Department added 3 of the arrested illegal workers allegedly used electric mobile transport to deliver food orders. These cases have been forwarded to the police. Helen Chen, TVB News.
In the 2021 subversion trial involving 47 Pan Democrats, the 4th batch of defendants made their mitigation plea today. They include former lawmaker Claudia Mo, who took part in the so-called legislative primary elections in the Kowloon West. At the West Kowloon Court, among the 9 defendants making their mitigation pleas today was former lawmaker Claudia Mo, who earlier pleaded guilty to charges of conspiracy to subvert state power. Her lawyer said Mo has participated in the so-called primary election, but did not pressure others to join. She also understood the potential harm if the government's budget is vetoed. With a recommended starting point for her sentencing at 5 to 6 years in prison, Mo presented multiple mitigation letters apart from showing remorse. One of the letters was from former real estate sector lawmaker Abraham Scheck. Scheck wrote that while they hold very different political views, they have exchanges on public policies. In Mo's self-mitigation letter, she wrote that her husband was hospitalized at the intensive care unit last year, and she sincerely hopes to spend the rest of her time with her husband. Another defendant, ex-district councillor Kelvin Ho, also presented 9 mitigation letters. One letter was written by former lawmaker Frederick Fong, who noted he was deeply impressed by Ho's passion to serve the community and hopes the court can hand down a light sentence. Ho's lawyer added that the former district councillor wishes to quit politics and focus on church service in the future. The lawyer said Ho has been pursuing a master program in theology over the past 3 years and has reflected deeply on the case. The lawyer said a prison term of less than 3 years will be long enough to reflect Ho's culpability. The defense counsel for former lawmaker Helena Wong meanwhile noted Wong's limited role in the case. She never attended the coordination meetings of the primary polls. Neither did she propose to veto the government budget. Her lawyer cited the mitigation letter from former Secretary for Transport and Housing Anthony Cheung, a former Democratic Party member who describes Wong as a victim in 2019's confrontational politics. Lester Shum, a leader of the 2014 protests, also expressed deep remorse in his mitigation plea, which said he understands the attempt to veto the government budget will affect people's livelihood, the city's governance, and compromise national security. He said his biggest wish now is to reunite with his wife. It is understood that the police force will stop using the .38 caliber revolvers and switch to using Chinese-made pistols. Sources said some new recruits will be the first to be trained to use the Chinese-made handguns, and the use of the new firearms will be extended to other squads and departments over the coming 10 years. Uniformed officers in Hong Kong have been using the Smith & Wesson Model 10 revolvers before the handover. But most production of this type of pistol has been discontinued. The Chinese-made handgun to be used by the police reportedly had multiple benefits. While it has a similar caliber range as the current model, the revolver holds only 6 rounds of ammunition, while the new one holds 15 rounds in the magazine. The reload speed is quicker. The design also fits the grip for Asians. There will be 2 sizes of handguns available for the police force. And that's the news. Thank you for watching.